Hey you, this is Vade. I'm the voice of all the male characters in this series and I'm the editor as well. I've got something really personal I'd like to announce at the end of the video, so if you could stick around if you want to support me, that would really mean a lot. Without further ado, enjoy.
And when my bro makes spaghetti, it tastes like nothing you've ever put in your mouth before. Please be careful, tiny human woman. That fall might have broken your fragile little bones into tiny little pieces. And while I do like a good puzzle, putting you back together would be a task I would so hate to do.
Frisk held her breath, her heart pounding as the smell of something very similar to marinara sauce hit her nostrils.
Must have gone shopping.
She thought stupidly, and prayed that he didn't go out of his way to terrify anybody. But if he were acting any way like he was last night, she'd probably see a few traumatized people when she headed back home. And it didn't make her feel any better about her chances trying to make peace with him, so her wallet and the wallets of her neighbors wouldn't suffer so bad. It looked like Papyrus was back to his smug and condescending self. Whatever had been happening to her, as in whatever empathy she was hoping to get out of him, if there was any to begin with, was gone.
Thank you for that.
There is no need to thank me for saving you, tiny one. As of today and from now on, my brothers and I will be the ones protecting you and your businesses and your neighbors from unwanted dangers.
All her remaining courage left her when she realized how easily he could crush her. How easily Sans could crush her. She felt like she was trapped between two powerful giants.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, you bastard.
That's right, Dollface. We're gonna make sure everybody is taken good care of.
It didn't sound like a threat. Sans' deep voice sounded warm and gentle, and Frisk would have been stupid if she thought for 1 second he wasn't being threatening. Lobsters were all the same, openly threatening or pretending to be kind, smiling or snarling. The threat was a threat, no matter how it was presented, and all Frisk could do was keep smiling and pretend the two skeletons weren't threatening her.
Say, boss.
Sans!
Sorry about that. Never call him boss. He hates it and he'll probably kill you if you do. Say, Papyrus, why don't you go and introduce yourself to the other humans? You know, make your grand introduction. Let them know who we are.
Frisk's heart stopped completely. Introduce himself. As in, saying hi like a normal landlord, or introducing himself like Nick did when he first made his appearance. Whatever the case may be, Frisk needed to warn everybody in her apartment complex what was going on before Papyrus made his grand introduction. Lord knows what he'd do if somebody did something that he might classify as disrespectful. He was a monster after all, and Frisk was sure some of them wouldn't be so reserved when they saw him. So many horrifying and bloody images on what this skeleton might do raced through her mind, and made her all that more desperate to get back.
Well, it was very nice meeting the two of you, and I hope to see you again soon, but I do believe I must be off.
She wanted to pull away from him, but he was the one in control. At least for now.
Don't worry, Dollface. I won't take up too much of your time then. Me and you just gotta discuss the, protection fee for your apartment complex. Did you get all of it?
The lady was right. Even the dry pasta was expensive. But you said you wanted to cook wingdings a human meal, so here are all the ingredients.
How long have you been standing behind me?
Frisk wondered as Sans loosened his grip ever so slightly on her arm. The idea that he had been standing there longer than she realized added a new terror in her.
Take care, little one. I'll see you at home, brother.
Have fun. And be nice to the humans.
Mr. Sands, you might want to tell your brother that we humans aren't used to monsters. And so... he might think the humans are being insulting.
Don't worry about anything, Dollface. My bro knows they're gonna be scared of him. That grocery owner lady that came in before you didn't exactly have it all together when she saw us. Poor old woman turned white as a ghost. Looked like she was gonna have a heart attack. Pretty funny.
So that's what Mrs. B's was trying to warn me about.
Frisk wished she hadn't been late getting the money to Nick. She might have been more mentally prepared for this.
He won't get offended if people are a little taken aback by him.
Frisk hoped Sands was telling the truth. She sincerely hoped he was. But until Sands told her she could leave, she was stuck in this small building with him. And seeing as Frisk couldn't leave, now was as good as any time to try and fix the damage that was made, even if this prick deserved every crude and hateful thing she said last night. But how was she going to go about it? Should she even bring up last night? Or maybe she could say something else to completely distract him from it.
Say, Mr. Sands.
Sands. Just Sands, Dollface. Friends don't need to be formal with each other.
Fine. Sands to your face, prick behind your back. I just wanted to thank you for stopping Nick from hurting me. He's not a nice guy, and he would have really hurt me if you hadn't stopped him.
Frisk felt his scrutinizing stare, carefully analyze her expression, but she knew it was probably hard for him to spot any sort of deception on her. And that was partly due to the fact that Frisk really was grateful that Nick had been stopped. There was no doubt in her mind that if Sands hadn't intervened... Granted, that didn't change her opinion of the brute, but maybe showing her gratitude would help stroke his ego enough for him to be a little considerate with his protection fee price, or anything else he might want to charge him for.
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about him anymore, Dollface. He won't be bothering anybody no more. And while we're on the subject of unpleasantness, I suppose I owe you an apology for last night.
He was apologizing. She hadn't been expecting that. And in all honesty, if he had brought up last night's incident, she was fully prepared to apologize. But this was surprising. Surprising and suspicious, but despite the part of her mind that was begging her to be careful, she couldn't help the flutter of hope that bloomed in her chest.
I just wanted to have some fun was all. And what's more fun to a monster than scaring a human? That's why Papyrus won't mind if they're scared of him. He gets a kick out of seeing a terrified human too.
Assholes.
She thought, but didn't show the contempt on her face. Not when things were going somewhat decently between the two of them.
Now to remind him I'd rather be dipped in boiling water than be a moment of fun for him. Well, the reason I got so upset last night was because I already got a boyfriend. You know how that can be.
She told this lie so many times to criminals who have shown interest in her, and it always came out so smoothly and so convincing that a lot of them lost interest in her fairly quickly. But none of those men had been looking at her with that intense red stare Sands was giving her. Made it harder for the words to come out.
Boyfriend?
Oh yeah. Me and him been going together for a few years now, and if he got word that another guy was chatting me up in a girl's bathroom, well, let's just say he might be wondering a few things about me.
Even though it was hard to read his expression, Frisk wanted to see his face. She wanted to try to make out what he might be thinking, even though that big stupid smile was permanently stuck on his face, and made it 10 times more difficult for her to guess what was going through his mind. That imaginary pressure on her chest that kept her pressed against the wall last night was back, only only this time it was pinning her feet to the floor. Frisk tried to move, but just like the last time, she couldn't.
No.
She wanted to scream. She wanted to cry out for help. But the words couldn't come out.
I wasn't planning on really hurting you or anything, but I figured it was okay to, tease you a little. Since I honestly thought I'd never see you again. Don't I feel stupid? But seriously, what are the odds of this actually happening? 1,000,000 to 1, right?
Well, seeing as it's me, and bad luck follows me around like a bad penny, I'd say the odds are good.
The fear was pumping through her chest and she didn't know what to do. But she knew screaming wasn't going to help her. The only people out in the park were junkies who didn't care about anything but their next fix. And when it all came down to it, who would help her? Who was that suicidal?
You believe that, don't you, Dollface?
She swallowed and finally found her voice. It was soft and meek and pathetic sounding, and she hated herself. But what else could she do? If she screamed for help, she didn't know how he'd react.
Okay.
But if she remained calm, maybe.
You trying to scare me again, right? Cute, Mr. Sans. But like I said, I really can't stay for too long. So can't we just talk about the protection fee?
I figured us meeting again must be fate. Something we ain't got no control over.
Stop.
Her father's words flashed in her mind. You show fear, they'll eat you alive. But how could she not show fear when the guy in front of her was holding all the good cards in the deck?
This can't be happening.
Get over here.
This is just another nightmare about him. There's no way I'm this helpless.
And who are we to fight fate? I mean, I won't. I usually just go with the flow.
I'm gonna wake up soon. Wake up.
That's why it's hard to believe you got yourself a boyfriend. Fate may be tough on us sometimes, but it ain't cruel.
Frisk didn't respond. Didn't know what to say. Couldn't move to pull away from him. And Sans' fingers didn't stop playing with her hair or throat.
I really have to get going. I have a terrible headache. It's hurting real bad, Sans.
This is broadcast 782. That number is the only way I can keep track of how many days I've been trapped up here. Listen, whoever it is that's hearing this, please just try and understand one thing. I could be someone you know. I'm just a boy. I'm 21 years old. I'm about 6'3", and I just don't want to be alone anymore. Please, if you can hear me, say something. My name is Calysto. I haven't heard another voice in years.